Good morning, students. The today's topic which we are going to discuss is instructional planning. Now, instructional planning is the ability to forecast and visualize what, why, and how of teaching learning process. Now, learning objectives of today's topic are understand the concept of instructional planning means after the completion of this topic you will able to understand that this is instructional planning. Know the functions of instructional planning, that these are the functions of instructional planning. Comprehend the principles of instructional planning. Recognize the importance of instructional planning, why instructional planning is important. Identify the criteria for selecting instructional objectives. What are the criteria of selecting the instructional objective when you are going for teaching? Now, instructional planning is the ability of the teacher. Now, it is the ability of whom? It is the ability of a teacher to visualize, to look at, to and forecast what will happen into the future of what, why, and how of the teaching learning process. Now, instructional planning is defined as visualizing, the ability to visualize the future classroom events. Now, what is that instructional planning? This instructional planning will it's a type of ability. It's give ability to the teacher to visualize how the future classroom events will happen. Guidance provides the type of roadmaps or guide that assist in creating a flow of events that had a starting and ending point. What will it will help the instruction planning will guide the teachers to, and it will provide a roadmap, and it will assist in creating a flow of events, how the event should follow, that has a starting and ending point, from where the event should start and where it should end. Managing a way of managing time of events. Now, when the teacher will plan each and everything, then the teacher will able to manage the time and the events of his or her teaching learning process during that particular day. Now, decision making allows one to make decision about the how and what of teaching based on three primary consideration. Now, the teacher will able to take a decision. The instructional planning will help the teacher to take the decisions, allow one to make decisions. What the instructional planning will help the teachers to make decisions about the how the thing will happen, what of teaching, based on three primary consideration means we have to keep in mind the three primary consideration. The first is the student prior learning experiences. What are the students previous learning towards a particular topic? The content derived from curriculum, guides, textbooks, teacher developed material, and from where the teacher will derive the content, whether it from the curriculum guides, the textbooks, or whether the content will be gathered from the teacher developed materials, means the material which are developed by the teacher himself. The context and conditions on which the instructions will take place, in which conditions, what will be the situations in which the instructions will be taking place during the teaching learning process. Now, functions of planning. Now, the first one is to go give an overview of instruction. Name what are the functions of planning. The first one is that it will give an overview of instructions. Overview of instruction. What type of instructions will be used by the teacher during the teaching learning process of that particular topic? Means the teacher will decide that to teach this particular topic, I will use these type of instructions. No, to facilitate good management of instructions means to motivate. the teacher will be motivated to use the good management of instruction so that the learning of the learner should be benefited. To make learning purposeful, it should have some purpose. To tie instructional events with community resources. Now, when the teacher is making a planning of giving the instruction, means all the instructional events should be tie up with the community resources. Community resources, all the resources which are available for the teacher that can be used during the teaching learning process, and that resources are there in the community. To provide for sequencing and pacing, how the instructions will be given, the proper sequence and pacing, the way the information will be given to the learners. To economize time means the the teacher will have the use of the maximum time. The teacher can utilize the maximum time of the particular period, and it can only be done when the teacher will come with a proper planning, with a proper instructional planning during the teaching learning process. Now, the next one is to provide for a variety of instructional activities. Now, what is that? That during the teaching learning process, the teacher can use a number or a various number of instructional activities to make his teaching learning process effective. Now, how the teacher can decide that what type of instructional activities can be used by me? It should be decided on the topic, the needs of the learner, and what he wants to teach. So who is giving them the teachers the opportunity, that the instructional planning is giving the teachers uh, that opportunities to decide for a number of instructional activities. To make learners' success more measurable, which assists in reteaching. Now, what is that? That planning will help them, the teachers, to know how much their learners have success got, means how much they have achieved. To make learners' success more measurable means it is easy to assess how much they have learned, which assists in reteaching. Now, what is that which help the teachers in reteaching? Means when the teacher is going to teach again in the next period, then what will happen? That learner's success, that help him to reframe, reteach according to the needs of the learner. Means the teacher will again make a lesson plan or the instructions according to the assessment from the feedback which he has get from the assessment of the learners. Means he can change his teaching learning method. He can use the new teaching aids to make his teaching learning process more effective. To create the opportunity for a higher level questioning means the the instructional planning will help the teachers to create the opportunity for a higher level questioning, to assist in ordering supply, in which order the information should be displayed in front of the learners, to guide substitute teachers. The instructional technique, the instructional planning will help the teachers to guide the students. To provide opportunities means it will give opportunities to the teacher for an individual student or the learner, or a group of students, means it is giving opportunities to the individual as well, a particular individual or a specific learner, or a group of students that who are learning in a group together, to benefit maximally from participation in selected learning activities. Means how they will be benefited more and maximum from participating in certain learning activities. Means that instructional activity planning will provide opportunities to the individual learner, to a specific learner or a group of students, so they can be benefited maximally from different learning activities that will be planned by the teacher during the teaching learning process, and they will be benefited maximum from that activities only when the teacher will design those activities so that maximum number of students can participate in those activities. Now, to link curriculum to teaching and learning means the instructional planning will help the teachers to link the curriculum to the teaching learning process. Now, what is the main aim of teaching learning process? To deliver the curriculum to the students in such a way that they understand the curriculum. So, the instructional planning is helping the teachers to link the curriculum to the teaching and learning process, to provide teachers an opportunity to rehearse mentally and on paper what will take place when they teach. Now, what is that? When you go to the teaching learning process, in the real teaching learning process, before that you have to make some planning, and that planning will help the teachers to know what will happen in the particular class tomorrow when he will going in the real teaching learning process. Now, to provide teachers an opportunity to rehearse means he will decide that these questions can be asked, this can be the previous knowledge of the student, means he is rehearsing mentally, and on paper means he will decide that I will ask these questions, these can be the difficult words which the student can face during the teaching learning process, means he is rehearsing everything what will take place when they teach, and they are rehearsing, they are actually these problems they will face when they will actually go for teaching learning process. Now, principle of instructional planning. Now, the first one is understand the rationale of the course. Rational importance means you will understand that this is the importance of learning this particular course. Understand the rationale of the course in the context of the goal of the school or district. Now, rational importance of the course in the context of what? That these are the goals of the school, and to achieve those goals of the schools, we have to learn this course. The learning of this course is very important because we have to achieve these goals of the schools. Now, to achieve the goals of the school, we have to understand the importance of that course. Determine what content should be adapted in view of the objective. Now, that is very important. Which type of topics should be discussed with the teacher in the teaching learning process to the learner so that the maximum number of objectives can be adapted. Now, means what content, determine what content should be adapted means what content should be selected in view of the objectives which we have decided for the teaching learning process. Classify the focus of the course, fit for steering, subject matter, stressing on the subject matter, learner needs or social need. Now, classify the focus of the course. Now, this is the focus of the courses according to the subject matter, that this is the subject matter. These are the learner needs on which we have to give stress. Our social needs, these are the social needs that will be focused through this content. Decide how much time to spend on each topic means now the teacher has to decide that these are the topics which I have to complete in that particular course or the syllabus. Now, instructional planning will help the teacher to decide that in that particular topic I have to give 2 or 3 periods, means the instructional planning will help the teacher to decide how much time he need to spend on a particular topic or a particular content. Determine if there is a special need for the course, special learner instructional program. Now, the teacher, the instruction planning will also help the teacher to decide the teaching learning process when the teacher is going to teach the special learners who are divert from the normal on the basis of their physical, on the basis of their mental, or any specific learning difficulties or deficiencies which they have. So determine if there is a special need for the course special learners, if there is any specific need or special need of the content, or for the core special learners, that these are the special learners, and the instruction program should be designed in such a way. Now, identify the important components. Now, the instructional planning will help the teachers to find out the important components of that particular topic or the content, concept, skills, and values. That these are the important components which a student want to be achieved, or a teacher wants that after completion of this topic, that these skills or these values should be developed in my learner. Examine the components if they meet the objectives of the course, whether the content or the components which we have decided to teach the students in the during the teaching learning process, whether these components help us to meet the objectives of the course or not. Second one, foster critical or higher order thinking, means that if whether those components will help to develop critical or higher order thinking among the learners or not. Match students' ability, whether these components are designed in such a way so that the student abilities can be matched with them or not. Stimulate student interest, whether they will encourage the student interest in that particular content or course or not, are realistic in terms of school resources. No, whether my instructional planning is designed in such a way that I as a teacher will able to use maximum number of school resources. For example, I have decided to use overhead projector for teaching learning process of that particular topic, but in my school there is no overhead projector, so I have to decide that in the real terms that resources are available in the school or not, are balanced in terms of the scope and sequence, whether the components which we have decided are balanced in terms of the scope of the topic or the content or the syllabus, or whether that information has been presented to the learner in a sequential manner or not. Determine the approach, including basic strategies, means what different strategies should be decided or adapted by the teacher. Major assignments, what type of assignments can be given by the teacher. References, text, and others in view of the goal, means everything should be decided in according to the goal which the teacher wants to achieve. The assignment should be designed or be given to the learner so that the objective or the goals of the content can be achieved. Determine the procedure for assessing the student attainment of the course. Now you have to decide as a teacher, you have to decide that these will be the procedure of measuring or assessing or evaluating whether the student has attained that or not. Means whether I as a teacher I will able to achieve my objectives or not, and that can be uh, uh, and that can be done by assessing, and that the procedure of the assessing assessment should be determined. Decide on important components as a framework for the unit plan. Now decide on the important component, that these are the important component. On the basis of that component I will frame my unit. Show the plan to an experienced colleague or supervisor and revise if so needed. Now, what is that? I have planned my instruction, that I will use these instructional planning in my teaching learning process. But I have to show that this is my planning to an experienced colleague. What will happen that on the basis of his experience, he will give me some suggestion that you can teach in that way. That instruction can be give to the if you will give the instructions to the student in this way, then this attainment or the achievement of the student will be better. Or supervisor, if any principal is there, and revise if so needed. Means if they give you some suggestions regarding the improvement of the instruction planning, then you can use those suggestions and you can revise your teaching learning process or the instruction. As you plan, means the planning has been made, evaluate. You have to make an evaluation whether the planning will help you to achieve the objectives or not. Modify and improvement. If there needed some changes, then just change the planning. And improvement, and on the basis of the changes, on the basis of the modification, your planning will be improved. Take note of some components that should be added to cover gaps, that these are the things that are needed to cover up the gap between the learner previous knowledge and the recent knowledge which I am giving. Element to avoid redundancy. Change to change to avoid negative effects. Means what is that? We have to change our instructional planning in such a way that only positive effects will be there on the learners during the teaching learning process, and we should avoid negative effects. Now, important of instructional planning, provides for logical sequence and pacing lesson. Means all the information which will be presented to the learners in front of the learner should be in a logical form. There should be a reason why you are presenting that information to the learner first, and why this type of information will be presented to the learner later on. Means if you have a topic that you are going to teach to the teachers, students during the teaching learning process, that for example the topic is instructional planning. Means I have to give the during the teaching learning process, I have to give it the information, or the planning should be that such that all the information should be presented to the learners in a logical form. Now what will be the logical form? That first I will explain you the meaning of instructional planning, then the components, then the principles, then the importance of the instruction planning. I cannot make my teaching learning process in such a way that first of all I will explain you that this is the importance of instruction planning, these are the functions of instruction planning, and in the end I will explain you that this is the meaning of instruction planning. No. And pacing lessons, how you will pace your lesson plans. Economizes cost, time and energy. Means if you have make a foolproof planning, then it will uh, definitely it will reduce the time and energy of the students or the learners or the teachers also. The teacher will best use of time, maximum utility of the time, and the teacher will able to save his energy also when a proper instructional planning has been done. Provides for a variety of instructional objectives, creates the opportunity for higher or level of questioning, guide teachers, and these are the importance of instructional planning, that it's give a variety of instructional plan objective, that these are the objectives which we have framed, and these instructions will be given by the teacher to achieve those objectives, and create the opportunity for higher level of questioning among the learners, and it will guide the teachers how he should move while doing the teaching learning process, how he or she should move during the teaching learning process. Provide direction for the teachers, it give a direction to the teachers that in this sequence the content should be presented to the learner. Correlate instructional events, develop a sequence of well organized learning experiences, that in this way the learning experiences will be arranged or organized so to make the learning better. Present a comprehensive, integrated, and meaningful content at an appropriate level. Prepare a pupil student for the day's activity. The instructional planning it should be done that it will prepare the student that these type of in daily activities that you will be engaged. Now, components of instructional planning: the teacher's attitude, beliefs, orientation, and teacher social background. These are the component of an instruction plan that it will help the teacher that these are my belief, this is the orientation, and this is the teacher's social background. The pupil student age background, the pupil, the student age, in which age he is, background, from which background he comes, knowledge, what type of previous knowledge it have, motivational level of interest, how you will able to motivate the students, the type of content that influencing the planning process, textbook, and other instruction planning material. The type of content that has been needed that influence the planning, that the planning of the instructions will be influenced by the type of content that has been selected by the teacher for the teaching learning process. That it can be the textbooks which are being used by the teacher, and other instruction material. It can be the materials which have been made by the teacher itself. The learning content, which is characterized by the subject matter guidelines, means the learning content which has been used by the teacher should be according to the subject matter guidelines. Means the content should be based on the subject matter guidelines given by the authorities by the different institutions or the organization. Material resources which include equipments, tools for teaching, means time frame which is considerable. Now material resources, which material should be used by the teacher to make the teaching learning process, which include equipments. It can be a OHP projector, it can be uh, a projector, it can be a chalkboard, it can be a display board. Which type of material resources which will be included by the teacher during the teaching learning process. Equipment, tools for teaching, time frame which is considerable, means the tools or the equipments which has been decided or will be used by the teacher during the teaching learning process should be considerable in deciding on the time frame. Now, selecting instructional activities. How you will select the instructional activity. Now, basis for selection. Now, the basis for selection. The first one is goal and objective. What are the goals and objectives which the teacher wants to achieve? The activity should be selected. Means the activity which you have been selected during the teaching learning process. The activity should be selected according to the purpose. Means this is the purpose of using this type of activity. Means if I selected a activity, then it should satisfy or it should help me to achieve my objective according to the purpose, served at a particular time for a specific group of students. Means the activity should be decided according to the purpose, served at a particular time, that this activity will serve at a particular time, that activity will be help me to achieve that particular goal. It should help attain the objectives. Means it should help the activity should help the teachers in attainment of the objectives which he have decided. Costume for the courses which they have decided for the course, and the journal goals of the school, and these are the journal goals of my school, and these should be achieved by that particular activities. Maximum opportunities to achieve multiple goals, means you should give them the maximum opportunity so that multiple goals can be achieved. Activities should contribute maximally to the attainment of specific goals and objectives as well as connected outcomes. Means if I have decided that these activities I will use during my teaching learning process, but whether these objectives or these learning activities which I have decided for my teaching learning process, whether these activities help me in attainment of goals and objectives or not. If these activities will not help me to attain of specific goals and objectives, then I have to change my activities. Now the next is student motivation. Means those activities should be designed in such a way that they should motivate the learner for learning. Activities should make the learner actively engage and can sustain students' motivation. Now that what does that mean? That the activities which will be decided by the teacher during the teaching learning process should be such that every learner should be actively involved in the teaching learning process. Means if I am taking activity A, it should be such that every individual, every learner should be actively engaged in the activities, and they are not just a passive listener, and they are not participated in those activities. Then what will happen? My objective will not be achieved. Principle of learning. Activity should be based on the principle of learning, such as those that pertain to students' cognitive development, attitude, and values. Now what is, they are saying that activity should be based. Now any activity which has been decided by you should be based on principle of learning. And now what do you mean by principle of learning? Such as those that pertain to students cognitive development. Means any activity should be designed in such a way that it should develop the cognitive development aspect of the learner. Attitudes, it will develop positive attitudes among the learner, develop values among the learner, nature and growth of motor abilities and skills, and it should develop different type of skills in the learner. Facilities, equipments, and resources. Facilities that will be provided, that can be used by the teacher during the teaching learning process. What type of facilities are available? Equipments, what type of tools and equipments are there? Resources, what type of resources are there that the teacher can use during the teaching learning process. And when you are deciding your activity, when you are planning for your activity, you should consider that these facilities, these equipments, and these resources will be provided to me, and we I have to frame my activities keeping in these things only. Activity selected should consider the facilities available. Means the facilities which are available in the school. Means as a teacher, when I am going to select any activity, I should consider that these facilities are available in this school, and keeping in mind those facilities, I have to select this activity. The equipments the equipments which are present in the school. Teaching resources, the resources which are available for the teaching learning process that may be used, and the administrative organization and structure of the school. Is all these things should be kept in mind of the teacher when he is deciding, when he is planning the activity for his students. Now, criteria in selecting instructional objective. The first one is relate to larger curriculum goal critical thinking. Now, it should be related to the curriculum. That these are the goals of my curriculum, and my instruction objectives that I will frame, that I will select, keeping in mind that my curriculum goal should be achieved. Critical thinking should be developed among the students. Problem solving should be there, and self confidence of the learner should be there, and other valued abilities and dispositions which you want in your learner should be. Means any instruction should be designed in such a way that first the goals of the objective should be achieved, and the goals of the objective should be achieved in such a way that it should develop critical thinking, problem solving, self confidence, and other value abilities should be there in the learner. Put students in touch with the powerful idea or form of perception. Be schooled to so that students are not confused or frustrated. Means our instructional objectives, the instructions should be given to the student in such a way that they should not be confused that I have to achieve this or that. Challenge students so they will extend their present status. Now what is that? They will improve their learning, that it will definitely increase their learning. Allow for individualism so that those with different background and levels of development can contribute and progress. Allow for individualism means individualized instruction is very important. We have to frame, we have to give our instructions in such a way that every learner of the class should be satisfied with the instructions. Now, levels of development can contribute and progress, and they will progress in a better manner when we are talking about the individual instruction. Allow for individualism, that every learner learn at his own pace, so that those with different backgrounds, those some students can be of average, some can be below average or can above average, and levels of development and different levels of development can contribute in these activities, and can participate in those activities and progress and develop themselves. Fit within existing constraint of time, space, resources, and student characteristics means the instructions that you have been designing or framing should be in the constraint of time, that in that particular period I will able to uh, give my instructions to the student, and I will able to achieve my instructional objective. Space where the instructions has to be given. Resources, what are the resources, what are the prevailing resources that can be used for giving the instruction. And student characteristics, what are the different characteristics of the learner. Provoke emotional and physical as well as intellectual responses. Your instruction should be designed in such a way that it should provoke emotional and physical, but not emotional and physical only. It should also give motivate the students for giving the intellectual responses. Offer multiple perspectives on topic, issues, or problems. You have to give different viewpoints. You should present before the learner multiple perspective related to any topic which you are going to discuss, any issue or the problem. Have students make connections to what they are learning in other subject areas. Now, they can make a correlation between two topics or the two subjects. Means a correlation can be established by the teacher student when they are going to learn the commerce, and they can start able to make a connection or a correlation with economics. So, instructional objectives are should be designed in such a way that it helps the students to make connections between uh, learning in other subjects areas. Also, what they are learning in a subject A, they should be able to make a connection with the subject B. Contribute to the quality of life outside of school means we should make a learner in such a way that he or she can uh, make a contribution in the quality of life outside of school also. Contribute to multiple goals and outcomes. Instruction should be given in such a way that a multiple goals can be achieved and multiple outcomes can be achieved. Allow student to choose. They have the right, they have the choice to choose, design, revise, carry out, and evaluate the activity. Means they have the choice to select the activity, design their own activity, revise whether this activity has need some modification, then the revision can be made, carry out those activity and evaluate the activity whether that activity will help us to achieve our objectives or goals or not. Offer students many ways to construct knowledge means we are focusing that the students construct their knowledge by themselves. Construction of knowledge will be done only when the students are actively involved in the teaching learning process. Offer students many ways to construct knowledge through movement, manipulation, visuals, and not just through text and number. Means the construction of knowledge will be there only when the students are involved in the teaching learning process, when they are actively participated in the learning through movement, any movements can be done, manipulations can be, changes can be done, visuals, they are, the teacher is displaying some visuals or pictures or pictorials in front of them, and not just through text or number. Means the construction of knowledge not cannot be developed among the students only through the text, through the textbooks which the teacher, from which the teacher is giving the lecture. If we are focusing on the construction of the knowledge, then many things, many mediums should be incorporated by the teacher in the teaching learning process. uh, Conform to the official mandates regarding the content to be taught, which type of content should be delivered to the students. Give students opportunity to see how the activity fits within the bigger curriculum picture. Means you are giving an opportunity to the students that they will see themselves that this activity, how this activity is fitting in the bigger curriculum picture. Means this is the curriculum picture, and you have to, if you want to achieve your goals and objectives related to that particular curriculum, then how that activity will be helpful for you. Draw upon community resources, people, sites, records, and other documents. Now, you can draw upon community resources that are available to give your instructions to the students. Integrate skills in larger natural tasks rather than isolate skill exercises. Means you have to, your activities, you have to plan your activities in such a way that it should be integrated, integrate skills in a natural task. Means your skill, learner skill will be developed in a natural task rather than isolate skill exercises. Means we should focus on it as a teacher to develop the skills in the develop the skills of the learner in the natural tasks which will be given by the teacher during the teaching learning process. Now, in this particular topic, we have understood the meaning of instructional planning, the functions of instructional planning, the importance of instructional planning, and this how to select the instructional planning and what should be the criteria of selecting the instructional planning. Now, for further reading on today's topic, you can refer these references. Now, let us discuss some MCQs based on the topic we have discussed today. As MCQs are the best tools to measure the most important educational outcomes of the learner. Now, the first one is dash able to visualize and forecast into the future of what, why, and how of the teaching learning process. Now, these are the options, and you have to select the correct option. A is instructional planning, B is lesson planning, the C is unit plan, or the D is blueprint. Now, which planning is helping the teacher to visualize and forecast into the future of what, why, and how of the teaching learning process? Now, the correct answer is instructional planning. Means the instructional planning will help the teacher to visualize and forecast into the future of teaching learning process, what will be done, how it will be done, and why it should be done. Dash is the ability to visualize the future classroom events. Now, options are A, visualizing, B, lecturing, C, objectives, or the D, purpose. Now, the correct answer is visualizing. So, visualizing is the ability to visualize the future classroom events. Means while doing the planning, you will able to visualize that this can be done and that can be done in that particular class tomorrow. The dash provides the type of roadmap or guide that assists in creating a flow of events that has a starting and ending point. Now, what is that? Helping the teacher to decide the roadmap or guide that help the teacher in creating a flow that these events, I will start with these events and end with this ending point. Now, options are A, guidance, B, counseling, C. Learning, or the D. Purposes. Now you have to select the correct answer from the given choices. Yes, students. Now the correct answer is guidance. Now guidance is the type of roadmap or guide that assists in creating a flow of event that has a starting and a ending point. Now, the fourth one, facilitate good major management of instruction. Now, what is that? A, planning, B, learning, C, objectives, or the D, purpose. Now, the correct answer is planning. The planning facilitates the good management of instruction. Means if our planning is good, then it will help us to manage or facilitate our learning. Instructional planning helps to understand the rationale of the course, means the importance of the course in the context of the dash of the school. A. Goals of the school. B. Objectives of the school. C. Planning of the schools. And the D. Desires of the school. Now you have to select the correct answer, and the correct answer is goal. Means instructional planning helps to understand the importance of the course in the context of the goals of the school, which has been decided by the schools. Sixth, dash helps to determine what content should be adapted in view of the objectives. Mean what type of content should be adapted by you in keeping the objectives of the. Now the options are A. Instruction planning, B. Lesson planning, C. Unit planning, or the D. Blueprint. Now the correct answer is instructional planning helps to determine. Now, the seventh one, the activity should be selected according to the dash served at a particular time for a specific group of students. Now, A is group, B is purpose, C is planning, or the D is individual. Now, you have to select the correct answer, and the correct answer is student the purposes. The activity should be selected according to the purpose served at a particular time for a specific group or students. Now the eighth one, dash should contribute maximally to the attainment of specific goal. Means what should be used by the teachers so that the maximum can be attained. Specific goals and objectives as well as connected outcome. The options are activity, B related, C objectives, and the D planning. So the correct answer is activity. Now, ninth one, activity should be based on the principle of dash, such as those that pertain to students' cognitive development, attitude, and values. Options are A. Learning, B. Objectives, C. Planning, or the D. Designing. So, the correct answer of this question is learning. Means the activity should be based on the principle of learning. Instructional planning allow for dash so that those with different background and levels of development can contribute and progress. Options are individualism, B groupist, C leader, or the D follower. And the correct answer is individualism. Means instructional planning should be designed according to the individual needs of the learner. Now, thank you, students. With this particular direction, you understand that what is instructional planning, what are the functions of instructional planning, what are the different components of instructional planning, and the last, importance of instructional planning, and how what should be the criteria of selecting instructional planning. So, in the next lecture, we will focus on different instructional planning methods that can be a unit plan or the lesson plan. Thank you, students. Thank you so much.